First, let's consider how aggression is defined within social psychology. Read the 6 statements listed on this slide. Which of these would you consider aggressive behaviors? If I told you only 3 items from this list actually constitute aggression, which ones would you choose? Within social psychology, we define aggression as a behavior done with the intent to cause harm to a person who does not want to be harmed. Several key parts of this definition are important to remember. First, it is an observable behavior, not an emotion, a thought, or a fantasy that occurs inside the person. Second, aggression is directed towards a living organism. So, punching your keyboard constitutes destructive behavior, but not aggressive behavior. Third, aggression is intentional. This definition excludes accidental hurtful actions, such as unintentionally tripping someone, as well as intentional actions that are not done with the intent to do harm. For example, a dentist who administers a painful medical procedure. Finally, the victim of aggression wants to avoid harm, so a person undergoing dental surgery would not be considered a victim of aggression. Aggression can occur in different forms, including physical aggression, for instance punching someone, verbal aggression, for instance cursing at someone, and relational aggression, which involves harming someone's relationships, for instance by spreading a rumor behind their back. Can you think of some other examples for each type? Researchers sometimes also distinguish between instrumental aggression, which involves cold and calculated behavior, aggression as a means to an end, think of the hitman who kills for £1,000, and hostile aggression, which involves hot and angry behavior. Harm is the goal. Think of the jealous husband who goes berserk. Another distinction is between direct aggression, which occurs when the target is physically present, and indirect aggression, which occurs when the target is absent. For example, destroying someone's property when they're not there, or spreading rumors behind someone's back. Violence refers to more extreme forms of physical aggression that pose a significant risk of injury to the victim, such as assault and murder. All violent behaviors are aggressive behaviors, but many aggressive behaviors are not violent. For instance, a kindergartner poking a classmate. Violent and aggressive behaviors can be viewed as a part of a continuum of severity, ranging from mild aggressive acts, such as poking, to severe aggressive acts which constitute violence, such as shooting. Social learning theory holds that we learn social behavior, from aggression to altruism, by observing others and imitating them. Children learn aggressive behavior by observing other people, family members, peers, teachers, and characters portrayed in movies, television shows, and video games. Classic experiments by Bandura and his colleagues using the Bobo doll paradigm show that children can learn aggressive behavior through observation of both actual and filmed aggression. Their basic procedure was to have an adult knock around a plastic Bobo doll, the kind that bounces back after it's been knocked down. The adult would smack the doll around with the palm of a hand, strike, kick it, and yell aggressive things at it. Children imitated the aggressive adults and treated the doll in almost exactly the same way. Let me show you a brief video in which Dr. Bandura discusses these classic studies himself. Are you surprised that children were able to imitate the model's behaviors even after a single exposure?
The segment you're about to see is taken from an early experiment on learning of aggressive styles of behavior through modeling. Children watched a filmed adult perform novel aggressive acts toward a inflated doll, and the physical aggression was accompanied by novel hostile remarks. We later measured how much of this modeled aggression the children had learned just by watching. Now, the measurement of learning of aggression uses simulated targets rather than live ones. For example, to test how well bombardiers have learned bombing strategies, you would use simulated targets rather than require them to bomb San Francisco or New York. The model pummeled the doll with a mallet, flung it in the air, kicked it repeatedly, threw it down and beat it. It was once widely believed that seeing others vent aggression would drain the viewer's aggressive drive. As you can see, exposure to aggressive modeling is hardly cathartic. Exposure to aggressive modeling increased attraction to guns, even though it was never modeled. Guns had less appeal to children who had no exposure to the aggressive modeling. The children also picked up the novel hostile language. The room contained varied play materials, and children could choose to play aggressively or non-aggressively. The children devised new ways of hitting the doll. Now, the object of interest was the novel aggressive acts, not punching the doll. And children in the control group who had no exposure to the aggressive modeling never exhibited the novel forms of aggression. And here's a creative embellishment. A doll becomes a weapon of assault.
Do you think consequences of the model's behavior matter? Yes. Interestingly, Bandura also found that children are more likely to imitate a witness's behavior if that behavior was rewarded, and less likely to imitate the behavior if it was punished. What about the condition in which the model's aggressive behavior had no consequences? Look at the graph. It was the same as rewarding it. Think about the violence in movies and television shows. Is it usually punished? No, almost never. Is it rewarded? That doesn't matter. Showing violence without showing negative consequences promotes imitation. It is important to note that while violent media increase aggression, pro-social media, which portray characters acting in kind and helpful ways, have the power to reduce aggression and increase empathy and helping instead.
Big sales in a stampede. Shoppers pushed and shoved their way through Black Friday today, one of the busiest shopping days of the year, of course. The mad dash into a Walmart store knocked shoppers to the ground near Grand Rapids, Michigan at 5 in the morning. Despite several people falling to the ground, shoppers charged ahead, fixated on doorbuster deals. A 13-year-old girl helping a pregnant woman get up had to be taken away by ambulance. Another woman who was injured was taken to the hospital. Her husband blamed the store for a lack of security.
YouTube mañana Best Buy Riot. Mama, dude, this is fucking crazy.
All right, everybody, this is the way it's going to check down, okay? I need the first 34 divisions to sign up here in that yellow right now. Back up.
Don't know what she's saying. It's 4 minutes. It's 4 minutes. It's 4 minutes. That's what she's going through. 3 minutes. It's too late for her now. They should have did that from the beginning. Fuck him too. You putting people in the chaos like, okay, see what you can do. They gonna do it. Look, I got my camera out too. I'm telling you. It's fine.
here is where the insanity starts. American humanity. American insanity at its best. Sorry. Excuse me, please. Excuse me, please. Excuse me, please. Here we go. The madness has started. Shoppers. We got 17 of the same item there on her, 3 of the same item on him. Nobody's buying on this aisle. Yeah, tell us about the riot.
Hell, that's all I can say.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm gonna try to make my way here through the crowd. Car wrecks everywhere. Finally, we're making our way through this aisle. Finally, we got some movement. Stuff there is still wrapped. Dude. Alright. It's time to take a warp zone. Warp zone! To become part of the action aisle. Alright, here we are. Back here, they had a big bundle of DVDs and Blu-ray players and shit to sell. PS3 games as well and Xbox games. Everybody's here for the cool stuff. This is where the cool stuff is. The cool stuff is somewhere around here.
I'm gonna be able to make it through.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, what's this? There's an open hole here. There's nothing to sell here. But the best part of Black Friday, no one gives a damn about Ice Age.
Are you sure that was necessary for shoplifting? I know, right? Hey, get that shit. You need to get something, clean this motherfucker up. Look, get that shit. Get that shit. Get that shit. You done knocked the motherfucker out. That's your goddamn job.
He's dying.
Huh? I don't give a fuck. I'm not the fucking Buckeye cop out.
Someone call 911.
Hey. Call 911, man. That's fucking terrible, man.
Why did you throw him down so hard?
Yeah.
All he did was shoplifting and you threw him down like that?
They didn't even shoplift. We just put it under a truck so you could get out. job, man. Let them do their job. They're doing a real goddamn fucked up. Got it on video of him actually getting thrown down. Would they get in trouble though? They should. They fucking threw him down. I guess he wasn't doing anything wrong. He was following the guy. Oh.
Did somebody video it?
My family, yeah, man. I'm all lost in the shit.
I need you all to back up, please. Back up.
And he fucking broke his face.
Back up.
Back up, come on, back up. That guy did not need to slam him down that hard for shoplifting.
Most of the time, we are in institutions. So the Stanford Prison Study is a study of the power of institutions to influence individual behavior. Interestingly, Stanley Milgram and I were in the same high school class in James Monroe in the Bronx, 1954. So this study, which I did with my graduate students, especially Craig Haney, we also began with an ad. We didn't have money, so we had a cheap little ad. But we wanted college students for a study of prison life. 75 people volunteered, took personality tests, we did interviews, picked 24, most normal, most healthy, randomly assigned them to be prisoner guard. So on day one, we knew we had good apples. I'm going to put them in a bad situation. And secondly, we know there's no difference between the boys who are going to be guards, the boys who are going to be prisoners. The kids who are going to be prisoners said, wait at home in the dormitories, the study will begin Sunday. We didn't tell them that the city police were going to come and do realistic arrests.
Police car pulls up in front, and a cop comes to the front door, knocks, and says he's looking for me. So right there, they took me out the door. They put my hands against the car. It was a real cop car. It was a real policeman, and there were real neighbors in the street who didn't know that this was an experiment. And there was cameras all around and neighbors all around. They put me in the car. Then they drove me around Palo Alto. They took me to the police station, the basement of the police station. Then they put me in a cell. I was the first one to be picked up, so they put me in a cell, which is just like a room with a door with bars on it. You could tell it wasn't a real jail. They locked me in there in this degrading little outfit. They were taking this experiment too seriously.
Here are the prisoners who are going to be dehumanized. They're going to become numbers. Here are the guards with the symbols of power and anonymity. Guards get prisoners to clean their toilet bowls out their bare hands, to do other humiliating tasks. They strip them naked. They sexually taunt them. They begin to do degrading activities, like having them simulate sodomy. You saw simulating fellatio in soldiers in Abu Ghraib. My guards did it in 5 days. The stress reaction was so extreme that normal kids we picked because they're healthy had breakdowns within 36 hours. The study ended after 6 days because it was out of control. 5 kids had emotional breakdowns. Does it make a difference if warriors go to battle, changing their appearance or not? Does it make a difference if they're anonymous in how they treat their victims? We know in some cultures they go to war, they don't change appearance. In other cultures they paint themselves like Lord of the Flies. In some they wear masks. In many, soldiers are anonymous in uniform. So with this anthropologist, John Watson found 23 cultures that had 2 bits of data. Do they change their appearance? 15. Do they kill, torture, mutilate? 13. If they don't change their appearance, only 1 of 8 kills, torture, mutilate. The key is in the red zone. If they change their appearance, 12 of 13, that's 90%, kill, torture, mutilate. And that's the power of anonymity.